Hey, so this video is about letting go of your relationship and just loving. Now, I know some of you watching this are saying, oh my God, he wants me to just divorce my wife or kick my boyfriend out. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is to let go of your relationship and just love. See, relationships have been created to be a certain way, or they have to fit within the boundaries of what a relationship should be. And these boundaries are created by society, they're created by religion, they're created by people that are inherently conditioned to believe that they lack something. So this relationship is going to give them what they think they lack. And the unfortunate thing about that is relationships have become something that are really creating more suffering, and it's really going completely against who and what we really are at our true nature. Now let me explain that. See, our true nature, as I talk about in other videos, is absolutely free. Our true nature has no boundaries or limitations. It's limitless. But what happens is the human experience comes in and starts to put all these restrictions and all these boundaries and all these limitations on us. And they show up in the form of relationships as well. And when a relationship has boundaries and limitations, it goes completely against who and what we really are at our true nature. Now, some of you are probably saying, oh my God, a relationship without boundaries, is he just, wanting to do, these open relationships and, just do what you want? No, that's not what I'm saying. And I'm also not judging if you are in an open relationship. What I'm saying is that when we, in the human experience, start putting so many restrictions on our relationship, what that does, that creates a natural resistance that goes completely against who and what we are at our true nature. Because again, our true nature is absolutely free, with no limitations, no boundaries. But because of society, because of religions, because of, conditioning, relationships have taken on these boundaries and restrictions that prevent people from absolutely loving like they could and should be doing. See, relationships have gotten to a point where if they're not the way society says they should be, or how religions have created them to be, they're looked at from a different light. And I had a conversation with a guy who ironically grew up, or at least his young adult life was in the 60s. And so I was talking to him about true nature. And he says to me, Brian, what you're saying reminds me a lot about in the 60s when I was growing up. And he says, when people started talking about free love and just love, back then, we were looked at so differently, because we were looked at as outcasts or hippies or weirdos, you name it. And he said, but now you're speaking something that is very, very similar to what we experienced in the 60s. And I said, yes, I understand that. And I said, one of the reasons that is because relationships in that time period were more open. They were more free. They didn't have the restrictions that we have allowed relationships to take on at this point. Now, I also told him that because of some of the outside influences, the things that would allow people to be more free, helped that situation. And I don't condone or judge any of that. It's because of the drug use back in the 60s, it allowed people to be more of their true nature. It allowed them to be more relaxed and allowed their mind to relax and be more open. And essentially what happened, they became more of who they really are, which is their true nature. Now again, I don't condone or support or judge the additions of mind altering substances, because it's not necessary, nor do I judge it. It's when we can get to a place where we realize that our relationships are supposed to be free. We're not supposed to hold on to them so tightly that it creates this resistant energy that will eventually cause the relationship to fall apart in many cases. So what we do is we start looking at the relationships and we start allowing the boundaries and the limitations and the restrictions to fall away so that we can absolutely just start loving freely, because that is who and what we are at our absolute true nature. Our true nature is without limitations, without restrictions. It flows with ease. It is pure love. But because of the human experience, we believe that we lack something. And this relationship or this person is going to fulfill the lack that we think that we have. But the truth be told, our true nature, who and what we are at our absolute true nature, is abundant. It lacks nothing. It is without boundaries, limitations, restrictions. And when we're able to start allowing a relationship to be without the limitations, without the restrictions, we can love naturally. And this love will prevent us from having to place restrictions or limitations on our relationships, on each other, and we can just love freely. So if you're in a relationship where you have a lot of boundaries, you have a lot of restrictions, you have a lot of fear, that you're holding on to them so tightly because you feel that if you don't, you're going to lose them and you're going to be lost without them, you're going to lack something without them, consider allowing those restrictions and those boundaries and those limitations to fall away and just love. Because that love that you show that your partner, your wife, your husband, whoever it is, that natural love that you show them will keep them around. They won't feel pressure. They won't feel the stress that they feel because you're holding on to them so tightly, or the holding on to the relationship so tightly. So just let that go. Let go of your relationship and just love and see what happens. Stay well.